Started. This is Module 3 for 8th grade, 3.01 and 3.02, which are due this Friday, November 2nd at 4 p.m. We are starting Module 3 for 8th grade. So guys, go ahead and have your lessons pulled out and your pace chart pulled out. So lessons and pace charts. And 3.01, Whose Truth? You are going to read through the lesson and take the quiz on 3.01 yourselves. Okay? It's about fiction writing. It's kind of an overview for the entire module. So you want to read through 3.01, take your notes, and take the quiz. Make sure you get that done early in the week, get it off your plate. And then 3.02 is what we are going to talk about today. It's the planning of your narrative. And I want to go through how to find all the different parts for your narrative. A lot of this may be a review, right? But you can ask questions as we go. So definitely have your pace chart pulled up so we can look at that. Joey, we're going to get into that. You're given a writing prompt, okay? And you can follow along in the lesson for 3.02 also. So your objectives for 3.02, after completing this lesson, you will be able to generate ideas based on a narrative prompt, plan the beginning, middle, and end of an original narrative text, complete a graphic organizer to outline key components of a narrative text. So as you're going through this lesson and you're reading 3.02 this week, make sure that you take these objectives and you turn these into questions. So how do I generate ideas based on a narrative prompt? What can I do to plan the beginning, middle, and end of an original narrative? And how do I complete a graphic organizer to outline key components of a narrative text? And we're going to focus on that one today. So today in this live lesson, we are going to look at planning, and we're going to look at the graphic organizer. So those are the two things that we are going to focus on. Is the beginning, middle, and end of the original narrative, and how to do your graphic organizer, which is why I wanted you to pull up your pace chart. So let's jump right into it. How do you organize a great narrative? So I took this directly from 3.02, okay? And the organization of a narrative is crucial to storytelling. A narrative story moves forward through time, okay? And we won't get into the whole flashback thing, but we're going to say that this story that you're going to write is going to move forward in time, okay? And what I want you guys to do is as you read through this lesson, you want to read the short story Grounded. And of course, when you see the hyperlink, you click on it. And when you click on this in your lesson, it will take you to the short story Grounded. And you'll understand that everything reflects back to Grounded, okay? So, the author of Grounded began organizing her stories on a narrative organizational chart. Review how she filled in her ideas for the beginning, middle, and end of the story. Read the notes for tips to remember when you complete a chart of your own. Basically, guys, they are walking you through this in preparation because for 3.02, you are going to create your own narrative organizational chart. Okay? So, you want to have the beginning, 2 or more characters, and that writing prompt will give you the characters. The setting include time and place. Of course, the middle is a conflict. A story, the narrative has to have some sort of conflict. You need 2 rising actions, a climax, and at the end you have the resolution and the reflection. Okay? I promise the more time and effort you put into doing your organizational chart, the better your narrative will be. So spend some time this week really thinking about your story, okay? And the more you plan, the more effort you put into 3.02, the easier writing your story will be. Caitlin, we're going to go over that, okay? So the beginning. Here are the characters that you're going to have. This is based on the story. Okay, I'll give you the writing prompt once we get there. So they have characters, setting, and the exposition is the beginning of the narrative. which introduces two important elements, your characters and the setting. So here's a preview, guys. When you write your beginning, my rubric that I fill out for you will be based that you have a clear exposition where you introduce the characters and the setting. So when you fill out your graphic organizer, provide detail and use that detail for when you write. Very similar to how we did it in Module 2, you'll have the beginning do, then you'll have the middle do, and then you'll have the end. Okay? Thumbs up if you're familiar with characters and setting for the exposition. Okay. Now, this may seem like easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It needs to have details. So please make sure that you're reading through the lesson, because there are certain ways the rubric wants you to introduce the characters and the setting. And remember, that's what I have to look at to grade. And we'll go over that more next week with the beginning. This is kind of just giving you a preview. And then we have the rising action and climax. The middle of your story introduces and develops the conflict. It has rising action of 2 or more incidents. And the climax is the high point of action at the end of the story. So when I look at yours, your graphic organizer, and when I read your narrative, I will check to make sure you have a conflict, 2 examples of rising action, and a climax. Okay? Thumbs up if you're good with that. So you want to plan a problem that sets your story in motion. Everything can't be fantastic and rainbows and unicorns. Okay? There has to be a problem, a conflict in the story. We talked about in Module 1 how the character you have an antagonist and a protagonist, so you'll need that in your story too. You can put unicorns in it if you want, but there has to be some sort of conflict. Okay, and then we end with our falling action and resolution. The falling action and resolution, the end of your narrative, wraps up the story and clarifies the purpose of your writing. Really important to tie up those loose ends. So you want to describe how your conflict comes to an end and consider how your main character will feel about what had happened. You have to show growth within your protagonist. So the point of your story is your protagonist changes, hopefully for the better, as a result of your narrative. So you need to show in your falling action and resolution how that protagonist has changed as a result of the story. Okay? So you have the resolution and the reflection. And that reflection is when you show how the character changes. All right? Smiley faces if you feel good about this. Sad faces if you are like, oh no, this is so hard, Mrs. Bailey. It's actually one of my favorite modules, you guys. It's really fun. I love reading your writing. Fabulous. Okay, so just to reiterate, narrative storyline, beginning, characters and setting, middle, conflict, rising action and climax, and the end, resolution and reflection. And if you're anything like my own children who are around your age, you love drama and conflict and resolutions and all that good stuff. So you guys should have fun with this, and I want you to have fun with it. Okay, you can put humor in it. You can do lots of things with it, as long as you're making sure the story, you're following the writing prompt, and then it has all these elements. You can still use your imagination. Okay, so you have to follow the writing prompt, and you need to use all these elements. The rest of it is up to you. So you do get to be creative, which is awesome. All right, so let's check out exactly what you need to do for 3.02. So if you are following along, we're going to the assignment portion of 3.02. You want to read the lesson, of course, finish the activities in the lesson, and then you want to click on where it says read the instructions. And when you click on read the instructions, it looks like this. It says 3.02 planning your narrative. You will read a story and a prompt. Then you will organize your own story ideas in the narrative organizational chart. View the grading rubric as you complete your work. So that's the rubric we were talking about. And then it says read the narrative grounded. Well, you were instructed to do that earlier, but you know that when you click on read the narrative grounded, it will open up this. And what that will do is tell you a story about a girl named Kate and Darby and Mr. Jacks. Okay? So before you do your graphic organizer, you need to make sure that you've followed the directions and you've read this story, because you'll need this to base some of your story on. Okay, so you read that, and then the next thing it says to do is number 2. In the narrative organizational chart, plan your own story based on this writing prompt. Well, let's figure out our narrative organizational chart first. So everyone go to your pace chart. Go to your pace chart for language arts. And you will see that I magically supplied you with the graphic organizer. Okay, give me a thumbs up when you are at your pace chart. And I'm pulling up the pace chart so I can make sure everyone's there. Let's see, who do I see on my pace chart? I have 9 people. Charles is there, Dasha's there, Joey's there, Caitlin's there, Marissa, Fino, Sophia. There's an anonymous ferret, an anonymous goose, and Katie. So maybe some of you are not signed in. When you're not signed in, it shows up as anonymous. Okay, so go to the pace chart and then scroll down to week 11. And on week 11, you'll see what's due this week, 3.01 and 3.02, planning your narrative assessment. And then what are you guys going to do? Because we've done this before, so tell me, what do you do when you come to 3.02, planning your narrative assessment assignment? Good job, Joey. You click on it. So click on the narrative organizational chart. And when you click on that, it will pull up the narrative graphic organizer for 8th grade. You want to do File, Make a Copy, and that will become the copy that you write on. Of course, you want to put your name on it in 3.02. So everyone do that now, and give me a smiley face when you've made a copy of that with your name on it and labeled it. Good job, guys. All right, so we've done that. Fabulous. Did anyone happen to look and see the prompt that's on there? Okay, so, kinda. Okay, you can go 2 places. You can go on the graphic organizer, because I put it on the graphic organizer for you too. So, do your graphic organizer and you'll see that it's in red writing. I put what the prompt is. You can also go by going to the assignment and clicking in on where it says, in this narrative organizational chart, plan your own story based on this writing prompt. And when you click on that, it will pop up. Oh, it didn't do it. It will pop up the writing prompt. It's also on your narrative graphic organizer. So I'm going to put it in so we can all look at it. 1 minute. Here, I'm going to put it in the chat box. And you can follow along on the graphic organizer. It's right here on the graphic organizer. All right, so the writing prompt is, the author provides a description of the conditions inside the force field and how possible escape is discovered. As the passage ends, Kate finds that Mr. Jacks has also escaped. Write an original narrative featuring Kate and Mr. Jacks and the city outside the airport, and force field as your setting. Be sure to use details from the text as you tell your story. Okay? So you need to use details from the text as you tell your story. So you must read that story grounded, and then you kind of do a continuation of the story grounded. The characters are given to you, Kate and Mr. Jacks. You can add more characters if you want. Okay? And the setting is the city outside the airport and force field. Questions? Okay. So you know where your narrative organizational chart is. You need to read the story grounded. And then the writing prompt is kind of a continuation of grounded. And the writing prompt is also on your narrative organizational chart. Okie dokie. So reminders, due Friday, 3.01, Whose Truth, the quiz, 3.02, planning your narrative, the assignment. And that's the graphic organizer we just went over. Live lesson next Monday at 1. And of course, if you need help, you can call or text. Before you go, in order for you to get credit for coming to my live lesson, I need you to fill out the Google form. All right, what questions can I answer for you guys?